this process of us operating as a species, we've had our meditations in the workshops where we envision ourselves in 2030 having solved all of this climate emergency stuff, and then bringing those understandings back to the present and saying, well, this is how we did it. This is the whole list, the task list, the whole project plan, bring back the whole project plan of how we did it, bring it into now, and apply the project plan collectively, solve for climate change before it leads to extinction or destruction of the planet more than it already has, and learn what we can from the past and leave the experience of the past behind. Keep the lessons, leave the experience. But keep the wisdom that's been arrived at, the conscious discerning wisdom, at least until it is realized to be the training wheels that it is. Discard the training wheels over and over and over again and create a new, more optimized now constantly. So right now, whether we realize it or not, we're unwinding non-optimal realities that we have created for ourselves. The climate crisis is, we've used the metaphor of winding a string around a stick or tape around a hockey stick, or string on a ball of twine. If we've wound that Gordian knot out of our own choices, and now we're trying to unwind it constructively in a healthy way, it doesn't make sense that it's required that we do that with every dimension of the climate crisis, and by doing so, simultaneously generate a sustainable life process for humanity while dialing down carbon and all of that. Right now, they're contemplating creating the metaverse. And that can be a place where all of humanity could be distracted off into an artificial world, and we can imagine that we're anything we want to be and do anything we want to do while the world burns. So it's like taking a sedative or a drug rather than dealing with what is, accepting what is, dealing with what is, facing what is constructively, effectively, efficiently, and while, again, disdaining nothing. So right now, there are processes of different organizations trying to drive change in humanity. Okay, and any tribal collective that we would interoperate with as an organization, the WSS, does it make sense that that tribe would have their view or vision or beliefs or values or goals or their pre-existing intentions or the inertia of their path of evolution? And would they want to potentially influence or affect the dynamics and strategy and mission and vision of the WSS to their own projected necessary ends? And say, well, if it's going to be the solution, if the WSS and the SME are going to define a container that will hold all the solutions for humanity, then our ingredient is the most important ingredient, and it's the only ingredient that's really matters because it's our ingredient. We're the tribe, we're the ego identity of the group. Therefore, you should be the way we want you to be and do things our way, and hopefully as soon as possible. And we get that. And that said, we want to gently buffer, caringly, sensitively buffer all of those energies, receive all of them with love, kindness, care, compassion, and service intention, and integrate and synthesize them in this organizational process. And right now, AI algorithms, for better or for worse, they're creating pain and suffering in the world. They're also solving problems that never could have been solved by any earlier technology. So they're winding in problems and that need to be unwound out of society, the effect on our youth, the suicide rate, etc. Social media doing the same thing. So it's a double-edged sword. It has positives and negatives, pluses and minuses. How do we create a one-sided coin? How do we create a tool that cuts one way and doesn't generate as many problems as it solves simultaneously? We would suggest that can only be done through consciousness and discernment and alignment with spirit. So in this metaphorical diagram here, we we would suggest it is possible to live in different time zones simultaneously through meditation, through intention, through practice. Uh, we, for what it's worth, do jump ahead here and there, and we also jump back and back and forth, back and forth. It's all a continuity time. It's not past, present, future. It's a continuity. If we can see it that way, we can operate from it in that way and with it that way, then we can envision all the different possible futures and or likely futures, probable futures. We can learn from them and we can bring back all those learnings to here, to the present moment right now, and we can apply them in a constructive, effective, efficient way in order to make a far better now, so that that far better now will generate a far better future. And that could be our way as a collective of choosing to evolve. This realization of time not in being existing as past, present, and future in some diced up, fragmented way, or fragmented experiences of, oh, my ego identity experienced this yesterday, and this other part of my ego identity experienced this last week. Another part of my tribal resonant ego identity experienced this 10 years ago. Instead of all that fragmented discontinuity, we can just recognize all that is all the time if we choose to. And it's so peaceful. There is no recognized need or benefit for war, violence, harm, fighting, destruction, hatred, fear. There is recognized understanding and benefit and necessity of unconditional love, kindness, compassion, inner peace, equanimity, service, intention. So this, we just suggest contemplating this metaphorical diagram and realizing that if we choose, we can step out of the ego-identified present moment or tribally resonant, imagined, experienced, felt, painful, suffering moment, and we can step into the moments and the dynamics of where it's all been solved, where the pain and suffering has been transcended and is recognizably no longer a necessary ingredient for human evolution and learning. And we can bring it right here, right now, together in conscious community in a sustained and consistent way. And just be together and just find joy, happiness, and peace and love together and forever.